eyes. Now, before we start with our session, which is Back to School, How to Stay Healthy in Post-Pandemic Summer with Dr. Ontora. And while everyone is joining, let me just quickly run everyone through the important webinar hygiene. We request everyone to keep their audios on mute while the session will be going on. They can put their video off or on depending upon the internet that they are experiencing. There will be a question answer session at the end where the participative parents can ask our guest to be, all the participative guests can ask questions to our guest speaker today, Dr. Ontara. And when parents would be asking questions, we would request them to use the raise hand emoji for asking or typing it in the chat section so that everyone's question can be taken into consideration. So before we begin, just let me quickly ensure that our participants are getting in properly. So please excuse me for one moment. Okay, so our participants are joining in, and we have already our host for today, which is me, and our guest speaker for today, which is Antara. Before we are starting with today's session, I would like everyone who are getting in just to keep their audios on mute so that we are audible to everyone. Okay, and before we are moving on with today's topic, which is back to school, how to stay healthy in post-pandemic summer, I would just quickly like to run everyone through our schools. We have two schools under our umbrella, which is Adamus International School and Adamus World School. We would just quickly like to take everyone on a quick tour of the school infrastructure. So if everyone would be patient, I would just share a screen over here. So I believe my screen is already visible. So let us just start with a quick tour of our school, which is Adamus International and Adamus World School. So as everyone knows, we have two schools, which is Adamus International and Adamus World School, and both of the schools are under the umbrella and the pedigree of RISE Group of Education, which offers 360-degree education, and it has been offering this concept of 360-degree education from KG to PG since 1985 under the leadership of Mr. Samit Roy. And RISE has been providing quality training and education through all these years with a balance between the academic orientation of the mainstream education and the needs of the industry and the governance. We are headquartered at Dishari Bhavan, Belghoria, and we have helped over 50 students and over 1 lakh candidates from RISE to find success in the various fields of life. Now, one might ask that why parents are choosing Adamus? Well, there are numerous reasons. But to state a few, well, first is the setting. We have one of the largest green campus in the city. We have perfect ambience for learning, and of course, perfect designs which are suited for the children. The teaching staff, we have a team of over 250 teachers who are expert in their field, and we also maintain a healthy student and teacher ratio. To mention about the architecture, our school building was awarded the Architect of the Year by the International Business Council. The fees are affordable to the parents. There are numerous activities concerning developmental, co-curricular, and environmental issues from which the students can choose and and find success in these activities. We have modern bus fleet, which provide the best transportation facilities to all the day boarding students. And to mention about the academic facilities and student development, well, we have smart classes, state-of-art libraries and labs, and audiovisual rooms. And of course, to mention a special thing, the students of Adamus are provided breakfast, lunch, and snacks during their school timings at the day boarding system. To mention about our first school, which is Adamus International, well, it is a day boarding school that provides ICSE and IGSE syllabus, and it was established in 2004. And since then, it has been providing the students numerous facilities of taking in education with its infrastructure such as 5 acres of campus, extracurricular activities, and various community service and engagements of the student. At Adamus International School, which is located in North Kolkata, we have large swimming pool, 24/7 CCTV surveillance, more than 1,000 capacity dining rooms, smart classes, international trips for the students, large playground, GPS-enabled bus fleets, 750 plus auditorium, which is a very big one, and of course the state-of-art libraries, laboratories, and a fully equipped medical center with trauma care. And to mention, it is the only school in North Kolkata which is affiliated with Cambridge International and provides courses in IGSCE. And from the British Council, it has won several awards over all the years. Now, to quickly tell the parents about IGSC, well, IGSCE is one of the most widely accepted certification around most of the prominent names and universities across the globe. Students in Adamus International who will be taking the IGSC are provided with smart boards, computers, and smart classes and separate laboratories for their education purposes. At AIS, we take care of the students in terms of various infrastructures, academic support such as smart boards and international standard lab facilities and other modern equipments, and of course the AV rooms. Other than that, there is also the day boarding facilities where we have a secure transportation system with modern facilities, over 1,000 plus capacity of a dining space, which provides breakfast, lunch, and snacks to all the day boarding students. And of course, not to mention all the extracurricular activities that students take part in. And apart from that, AIS has also been providing facilities to students of international excursions. And as you can see, our students have been part of groups which has gone to many famous places across the globe. And all this have resulted in achievement of the best or the near to perfect board results, both in terms of ISC and ICSC. And of course, Adamus International has also won several awards in the fields of academics and sports and game. A special mention would be that our principal, Mrs. Mitra Sinha Roy, has been awarded the Best Zonal Principal Award by SOF for her outstanding performance of our students at the zonal level. And this brings us to our second school, which is Adamus World School, and which has one of the largest green campus in the town. Well, it is a CBSE school under Satish Kiran Roy Memorial Trust. It has 100 plus acre of green campus in infrastructures such as large playgrounds, CCTV cameras, and a big, large library with over 6,000 plus books and numerous others. Then the transport facilities to mention, the healthy student-teacher ratio, the academic excellence, and of course, the various awards that the school has won. One of the best schools in Barasat, Adamus World School, has 100 plus acres of green campus and more than 900 students who get the facilities of 2 large playgrounds, then 24/7 CCTV camera surveillance. It has GPS-enabled bus fleet, fully equipped medical center with trauma center, same as in Adamus International School, smart classes with smart boards, state-of-art laboratories, and well-stocked library. About CBSE, well, CBSE provides education in the best system through graded syllabus, experimentations, applicability, project-based studies, academic supports, plenty of support in terms of several materials which are available online, and of course the developing resources which are constantly provided through the upgraded syllabus at the school. And of course, there's a competitive advantage of CBSE over the other boards, particularly for parents who have transferable jobs, because CBSE is one of the most widely available educational affiliation board, which parents can choose if they have a transferable job profile to ensure the best educational impartment in their child. Well, at Adamus World School, we are providing several infrastructure which were already mentioned in my previous slides. Other than that, we have excellent support for the academics and of course the transportation to mention. And of course, just like Adamus International School, Adamus World School also has numerous extracurricular activities from which the students can choose, participate, and excel in their life. And all this support and infrastructure at Adamus World School has, just like Adamus International School, resulted in achievement of remarkable results in the board performances for CBSE, both at the secondary and the senior secondary levels. And of course, as I have mentioned, that Adamus International School has won several awards, so has Adamus World School. Well, to mention some of the prominent ones, Adamus World School has recently won 6 awards in the Telegraph School Awards in several categories for their excellence of the students in the year 2021. And of course, we are also ensuring that several safety of the students are maintained. Safety of the students are maintained in the terms of fire safety, food safety, and first aid. And if the parents are interested to stay connected with Adamus International and Adamus World School, well, they can visit our website at adamusinternational.org or adamusworldschool.org. If parents are interested to inquire about the admissions, they can go online and fill up their information at adamusinternational.org/ICSC-ISC/admission 2022-23 or adamusworldschool.org/CBSE/admission 2022-23. In case the parents are interested to take a tour of our premises, our campus, they can go to the YouTube and find our channel, which is Adamus International School or Adamus World School Barasat, and see the infrastructure video posted over there. They can also follow us on Facebook. Just go and search for Adamus AIS or Adamus World School Barasat, or on Instagram, which is Adamus International School and Adamus World School. For general inquiries, the parents can also log into ais.adamus.co.in/login or support.aws.adamus.co.in/login. Well, with this, I think the parents could get a glimpse of our school, and not to waste more time because our guest speaker, Dr. Antara, has been waiting to start her session. And I believe that the parents will also be getting some insights. So I would hand over today's session to Dr. Antara Biswas, who is with us from Manipal Hospitals. So Dr. Antara, over to you.
Thank you. Very good evening and hello to all the parents here. And hopefully I will be able to shed a little bit of light on how to keep your children healthy in these coming summer months, especially now that the schools are restarting after the long break for the pandemic. So without further ado, let us start. Okay, so how to stay healthy in this post-pandemic summer. So we'll be discussing this under some specific topics. Slide change. Just a minute, slight technical issue. Okay, thank you for your patience. We're back. So we'll discuss about the basic hygiene, healthy food habits, sleep, vaccination, physical exercise, screen time, how to protect your children from mosquitoes and insects, something about indoor hobbies, illnesses, physical safety, and mental health. So to start, let's talk a little bit about hygiene. First of all, hand hygiene. I think over the last 2 years during the pandemic, most of us have learned a lot about hand hygiene, hand washing, and a lot of children, our children, even very young children as young as 2 years old, have imbibed these habits from us. A lot of children now know that as soon as they come home, they have to wash their hands. They know that if they touch somewhere something, they have to wash their hands. They know a lot about the steps of hand washing even. So it is a good practice to encourage your child to learn about the different steps of hand washing, because once they go to school, they will be sharing tiffin, they'll be touching here and there, and they need to maintain this habit of hand hygiene. So that's a very good habit that has started in the pandemic, and we cannot afford to let that go. Next is your mask hygiene. As children are going back to school, it is not entirely safe yet. We are not completely out of the pandemic, and we don't know whether another wave of COVID will come in the near future. So masks are essential, and I'm pretty sure the schools are also keeping a tab on this. Your child must wear a mask in school when they're in class, and also in crowded places like they were. Children under 2 years do not need to wear masks, but school-going children do need to put on a good, well-fitting mask. Your mask should not be too tight and it should not be too loose. It should be a properly fitting mask that covers the nose and the mouth well. Nowadays, we get a lot of adjustable masks for children because it is difficult to get a appropriate size according to the age and weight of the child. So you can get one of the adjustable masks that can be adjusted at the ear loops so that it fits your child well. And thirdly, social distancing. I think that too by now is a well-known practice. Do not go to overcrowded places. Do not let your child come in contact with a sick person. If there's anybody sick in the family, you try and isolate that person. We will discuss this in more details shortly. So for now, we need to understand that hygiene is something that we need to uphold even as this pandemic is hopefully coming to an end. And we need to teach children, and more importantly, we need to reinforce this repeatedly, that when you go to school, before you eat your tiffin, you must wash your hand, you must keep your mask on, and I'm pretty sure that teachers will also have a very big role to play in this. Teachers will definitely encourage children to maintain their hygiene practices. Coming to our next thing, healthy food habits. So this must be a query, this must be a concern for most parents. What do we feed our child? How to keep them healthy now that schools are restarting and timings are changing again? How do we keep our child healthy? And to be honest, a lot of children have gained a lot of weight in this pandemic. Over the last 2 years, children have been seated at home. They have not had much of physical activity, not much of exercise. They haven't gone to school. Older children have been stuck in front of a computer for hours every day. and consequently they have lost out on their most of their physical activity, and they have gained a lot of weight. I get a lot of patients who are so overweight right now that they are starting to have health issues, other health issues. And as parents, you need to understand that childhood obesity paves the way for a lot of serious illnesses in the future, such as hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, heart diseases. All of this, they have their root in childhood. So childhood is a time where you cannot afford to let your child get obese. Do not let them get overweight. You have to ensure that that doesn't happen. So first of all, they need a balanced, nutritious diet. And what do we mean by a balanced, nutritious diet? It doesn't mean that they need to eat a lot of food, but what they need to eat is the right food in the right quantity. They need to have the adequate amount of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. You can't restrict fats entirely. They need that because they are growing children. Their brains are developing. Fats are also important, but in adequate quantity. Fruits and vegetables must form an essential part of their daily diet. They need their fibers. A lot of children do not like eating fruits and vegetables, and because they are sedentary right now, sitting at home, many children are having issues with constipation. So that has become a household problem now. Over the last 2-3 years, I have seen a lot of patients of mine coming. They never had constipation, but now they do. And one way of ensuring that that doesn't happen is by including a lot of fibers that comes from fruits and vegetables. So a lot of vegetables in your food and at least one fruit on a daily basis. Yogurt or curd. Curd is a superfood, and I think even a lot of parents by now must be aware of this, especially curd that has been set at home. No added sugar, the simple white yogurt, ghore pata shada doi. So that is excellent for health, not only for adults, also for children. And I strongly advise to most of my patients to include a small bowl of curd daily in their diet, especially in the summer months. Curd has a lot of probiotics that keeps your gut healthy. So it ensures that your food gets digested well, your bowels are clear, and you are generally healthier. So that is a superfood. Try to include some yogurt in your child's diet unless there is some other issue like lactose intolerance. Next thing is hydration. Summer months are here. It's already quite hot. The temperatures have already soared and we're all sweating. Children especially, they will sweat, they run around, they play, and a lot of fluids are lost, a lot of electrolytes are lost, and there is a good chance of getting dehydrated. So don't let that happen. Make sure that your child remains hydrated. Especially in the last 2 years, children who have been confined to their homes, who have not had the opportunity to go out and play, they have lost their touch. They might suddenly get dehydrated. So make sure that your child gets adequate hydration. A lot of water. Try to give, depending on the age of the child, of course, at least 1 to 2 liters a day. For older children, even more. They can have juices, they can have ORS, they can have a lot of liquids so that they remain well hydrated at all times. I always stress on home food. That doesn't mean that they don't get occasional snacks. Of course, they will get some occasional snacks from outside. They will have some treats occasionally from outside, but that has to be a treat, that has to be occasional. Home food is the best food, and we cannot stress enough on home food, especially with local ingredients, homemade, simple food. And try to avoid roadside snacks as much as possible because, well, you don't know what goes in it. I'm sure you must be telling your children as well not to have them. Sometimes it's very difficult to control these things. They will end up having a little bit of roadside snacks sometimes, and it can lead to diarrhea, it can lead to vomiting. So try and counsel them, try and tell them not to have roadside snacks as far as possible. It's not always possible to control children, especially when they're out of your sight, they're going to school, they might buy something from the local roadside stall. But try and avoid it as far as possible because these coming months are very high on diarrhea. The summer months are notorious for diarrhea, vomiting, and a lot of gastrointestinal issues, a lot of stomach bugs, stomach flus at this time, and many of them come from these roadside junk foods. Also, regular meal times. That's very important. Try and maintain a regular meal time. The habits, the lifestyles have been a little different for children and their parents in the last 2 years, because a lot of parents were also working from home and children were also completely at home. So their food times, their habits have changed. But now that they are going back to school, you need to set it so that they get 3 solid meals, a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, and at least 2 to 3 snacks in between. Try to keep the meal times as regular as possible. It does not need to be, there is no one correct time for all. You can't say that you have to eat lunch every day at 1 p.m. You can't do that. Most of the children won't even come home by then. But whatever time suits you as a family, try to stick to that. Children are creatures of habit, and when you try to keep them within regular habits, they generally stay healthier and happier. And this goes without saying, avoid excess sugar at all costs, not only for adults, also for children. Sugar is the enemy. I think this has been widely publicized, and a lot of people now know this, that previously we used to think fat is the enemy, but now most of us know sugar is the enemy at all ages. So no excess sugar, right down from very young children till elderly people, no excess sugar. Avoid excess sugars, avoid juices which contain a lot of excess added sugars, avoid chocolates with excess added sugars. Try to stick to candies and snacks which contain a little less sugar. So try and avoid excess sugar as much as possible. This is for younger children. Do not force feed, do not overfeed. This is a request to all parents. Please do not force feed your children, because younger children especially, they don't know how to control their meal portions, and parents end up force feeding them. Please don't force feed your child. It will lead to a host of problems in the future. Your child, this of course is in context to younger children. I'm stressing again on that. Older children generally know to control their meal portions. Younger children, often they don't make that decision on their own. And as parents, we feel that we understand how much food is okay for them. And as a result, we end up overfeeding our children. There is a consistent consensus among mothers that my child is not eating well. Even mothers of very obese children tend to come and tell me, oh, my child is not eating well, she is losing weight. But no, you cannot force feed your child. You cannot overfeed your child. Let your child try to understand their portion requirement. Give them the autonomy to understand it on their own, and that will pave the way to a lifetime of good eating habits, and not thought process that makes you think that, okay, I must eat this much because this is the portion size that has been set out for me. No, I will eat as much as necessary. So in this day and age, especially children from well-off families, undernutrition is not a problem. We are consistently faced with the problem of overnutrition here. So malnutrition, of course, has 2 ends of it, undernutrition and overnutrition. Previously, we used to get more undernourished kids, but unfortunately now we get more overnourished kids, that is children who are overweight, obese, and that needs to stop at all costs. And finally, be very careful with drinking water. Make sure your water is purified, whether you're using RO, whether you're using a non-RO system, UV system, whichever it is, make sure that you use purified water. Water, of course, is the culprit in many diseases like typhoid, like diarrhea, and many other diseases as well. So a lot of diseases can come from water. Make sure your water is pure. I'm sure there's no need to tell this to parents because they must be doing their best already. But ensure that your child understands the importance of good, clean water, so they just don't go and drink water from anywhere when they are outside the home. Now that they will go outside of their home because schools are restarting, make sure that they drink only water from reliable sources. Try to give them a bottle of water. I'm sure most of you do. For those who don't, try to give a bottle of water from home and make sure that they are finishing it by the end of the day. Okay, coming to our next topic, sleep. Sleep again is something that has been affected badly in the pandemic. Some children have slept less, some children have slept more, and all of this because the routines have gone haywire. Children, when they used to go to school and parents used to go to their offices, there used to be a specific routine. They would get up at this time, they would brush their teeth, they would go to the bathroom, they would eat, they would go to school, come back, eat again, play, study, eat again, sleep. So there used to be a fixed routine, but the pandemic put everything in complete haywire. Initially, no school, then online schools, and timings even for online schools also had to do a lot of adjustments, same teacher teaching different batches. So some children end up with very strange school timings. I mean, I've had patients whose school timings are from 1 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the afternoon and evening. So I don't know which child can do classes like that, but unfortunately, this child has to do that because that's how the school has set the time for her. So you can understand that she was used to 1 hour nap in the afternoons when she used to come back from school. But now that she has to skip because her online school is at that time. Her lunch time falls within that time. So she has to eat an early lunch by 12 and sit down for classes from 1 to 6. So her afternoon nap, of course, is gone. Now she has to rely on the night sleep, and she is ending up with some sleep deficiency. She's ending up with some sleep disorder. Just because they are children, don't think that they cannot have sleep disorders. Just like adults, children also have sleep disorders. Children also need a specific adequate amount of sleep hours. So for most older children and adolescents, your adequate sleep hours would be at least 8 to 9 hours in a day. For younger children, it has to be about 9 to 10 hours. So try to ensure that that happens and they don't stay up late night. Try to set correct bedtime and try to follow the bedtime. That is, bring back the habit, bring back the rule, bring back the routine as far as possible. Let's talk about air conditioning for a minute. I think that's a very relevant topic in today's day when almost everybody has air conditioners at home, and I'm sure you must be sleeping in air conditioners, most of you. Not only sleeping, I think in a lot of houses, in a lot of homes, the air conditioner must be on 24 hours in a day, or at least almost 24 hours. So is that okay? Is a lot of parents have a concern. I get questions from parents, is it okay to keep my child in so much of air conditioning? The mom and dad often they quarrel. The dad says it's okay. The mom says, no, it's because of the air conditioning that my child is catching a cold so many times. So is it okay? I say, yes, it is okay to keep your child in air conditioning 24 hours a day. It's okay for all of you. But you have to follow certain rules. First of all, try to keep the temperature ambient. The temperature and your fan speed should be ambient. It should not be too cold, neither should it be too hot. That, of course, depends on each one of you, but generally a temperature of around 24 to 26 is comfortable for most people. Secondly, the external filter, the outer filter, try to clean that with soap and water once every 7 days. At least once in a fortnight, try to clean that with soap and water. And make sure that you get your AC serviced at least every 6 months to 1 year. Preferably every 6 months, try and get your AC serviced. Because a lot of bacteria and viruses can come from ACs. And if you keep your AC well serviced and if you keep the external filter clean, then they won't be able to proliferate there. They won't be able to spread from there. So while it is okay to keep your AC on for most hours of the day, try to keep these things in mind. That will keep the air of your house purified. I get another question from a lot of parents. Do we need air purifiers? A lot of air purifiers have recently come to the market. A lot of people are buying it also. Some people think that we must put an air purifier in our house, then my child will not fall sick. But can you really protect your child completely with an air purifier? You'd have to lock your child inside the room with the air purifier 24 hours a day. That's not possible. They'll be going to school, they are taking the school bus or the car, they are going outside, they'll be going to the playground. So air purifier is a very dicey subject. It's a very plus minus thing. For me, for my personal opinion is steer clear of air purifiers. If at all you feel the need for it, you can, but it is not a necessity. It is not a mandate. In fact, I would say let your child play in the open. let them play in open natural air. You don't need an air purifier in our homes right now. I don't think that's necessary at this point of time. Coming to a very important topic, vaccination. So regular vaccines. First of all, we must take your regular vaccines on time. Oftentimes parents stop vaccinating their child once they turn 5 years old, but no, please don't stop there, because there are important vaccines at 10 years, 15 years. And for girls, there are important vaccines at 11 years also, the HPV vaccine. So don't stop your regular vaccinations just because there is a pandemic around. Please continue your regular vaccination. One very important and absolutely necessary way of keeping your child healthy is by vaccinating. And by vaccination, you're not only protecting your child, but you're also protecting the other children of the school. So it is important that you give all the regular vaccinations, make sure your vaccines are up to date. Second thing is your catch-up vaccination. I think during the pandemic, I have seen a lot of patients who have missed out on important vaccines. A lot of parents were too scared to take their children to the hospital, and rightly so. They have feared that if they go to the hospital, they might catch COVID. And I don't blame them for being afraid. They are absolutely justified in their fears. But those of you who have missed out on your vaccines in the last couple of years, please make sure that you finish those vaccines. Please make sure that you take the vaccine. So make sure that you catch up with the vaccine schedule. That's very important. Excuse me. Third thing is about annual influenza. Those of you who are vaccinating your child from private institutions must already be getting annual influenza. Those who are getting it from government setups are probably not getting the annual influenza, but you can take it separately from a private practitioner. Annual influenza vaccine is very important. It is mandatory up to the age of 5 years. And after the age of 5 years, it is usually optional. In the last 2 years during the pandemic, because there was no vaccine for children, we have advised that children should take the annual influenza up to 10 years. So we have given annual influenza vaccine for children up to 10 years in the last 2 years. And although it is optional, it is still advisable to continue the practice. Take annual influenza vaccine up to 10 years. It will protect you against the important influenza strains like swine flu, etc. And this vaccine keeps getting changed every year. The WHO keeps changing, they keeps doing research, and accordingly manufactures a new vaccine twice a year, and we use one of those. So and that is taken only once a year. Okay, so younger children and older children, keep taking your annual influenza. Don't stop taking that. It will protect you from your general cough and cold especially in the monsoon seasons. So monsoon is coming up, and the next 2 months are your perfect window period for taking the annual influenza. April and May, that is about 2-3 months before monsoons. That is your best period for taking annual influenza. So whoever is yet to take your annual influenza, please start taking from this month onwards. And those children who are above 10 years and have some comorbidities, if you have, say, asthma, or if somebody has some other immunocompromised disease, if somebody is taking any immunosuppressants like steroids for some disease, or if somebody has a heart disease, so any comorbidity if you have, then children above 10 years also need to take an influenza vaccine every year. And finally, the topic which is on everybody's mind, COVID vaccine. COVID vaccine is now available for children above 12 years. Initially, it was made available for those aged 15 to 18 years. Covaxin was being given only. Now, a different vaccine is being given for the 12 to 15-year age group. The Corbevax, that is a different vaccine. It is a subunit vaccine that targets a specific protein on the COVID virus. And this is a tried and tested vaccine, so it is safe for children. You should take the vaccine. Children aged 12 to under 15 are getting the Corbevax, and those aged 15 and above are getting the Covaxin for now. So for now, we don't have a choice. As parents, you don't get a choice in which kind of COVID vaccine you can give your child. So whichever the government is giving right now, as per the age group, you have to give that. You must be having a lot of doubts in your mind whether to give it, whether not to give it. Yes, phase 3 trials not yet completed in most cases. Emergency use authorization has been given to these vaccines for production, and some new TV shows have, I think, screwed up your minds about giving new drugs. I'm sure you know which TV shows I'm talking about, but fear not, give the vaccine. It's not harmful. Vaccinate your child. Having COVID would be more harmful. So please vaccinate your child. As soon as, if your child is above 12, please go and vaccinate right now, because the vaccine has been available since last week. And those under 12 years, your vaccine is yet to come, but hopefully we will see it soon. 2 more kinds of vaccines are going to come to the market soon. One is a needle-free vaccine, the Zycov-D, which was in news a lot. Last year, it was supposed to come in September of last year, but productions were delayed. We can expect it soon. So hopefully for children who are very scared of needles, most children are scared of needles, some more than others. This is a good option because it is a needle-free vaccine. So essentially a painless vaccine. So the Zycov-D sounds promising, but it is yet to hit the markets. For now, only 2 vaccines. And let's hope soon vaccination will open up for the younger crowd as well. And as soon as it comes, please vaccinate your child. Coming to the next thing, physical exercise. So I will go back on what I was saying a little while back. Children have been sitting at home, sedentary lifestyles. They have gained a lot of weight. Children who were previously slim, who previously had a good physique, who had a good, who used to get a lot of exercise, have been sitting at home. They have been stuck in front of the computer for hours at an end. No play, no activity, no going to school, and consequently they have become overweight, they have become obese, and that is causing a lot of problems. Children are also beginning to get a lot of health problems because of their overweight and obesity. So how can you mitigate that in the coming days? Of course, schools are reopening now, so that does take care of part of your problem. But apart from that, try to ensure that your child gets some daily outdoor play, be it for boys and for girls, not just for boys, also for girls. Let's stress on that. Girls too need to go outdoor. They need to go out and play. Daily outdoor play is important for whatever duration, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever you can manage from their schedule. I know even children nowadays have very busy schedules, but whatever they can manage, at least half an hour to 1 hour of outdoor play daily. They need to take in the outdoor air, the fresh air. They need to go outside and play. That's very important for all of them. And maintain hydration when they are going outside. Like we already spoke about this. Make sure that they remain hydrated when they are going out to play. Also, give them a bottle of water to carry. They can, and please ask them to have water at regular intervals while they are playing. And of course, avoid insect bites. So when they are going out to play, you have to try to avoid insect bite as far as possible. How do you do that? Of course, you can't cover your child from head to foot. That's not a solution. You can try some of the over-the-counter things available, like mosquito repellent roll-ons, then mosquito repellent patches, small little round patches that you can put on their clothes or their shoes. Then some liquid roll-ons are available that you can, I think you have to put only a few drops on their clothes and shoes, and that keeps away the mosquitoes and the insects to some extent. So that's important. Next, coming to a very important topic, screen time. Now that physical schools are reopening, what do you do about screen time? In the last couple of years, especially for older children, the screen time was uncontrollable. They had school in screens. They had to do online schooling. They had to do a lot of online activities, coachings, etc. But now that schools are reopening, screen time needs to be cut down again. You have to restrict screen hours. By screen, we mean television, laptop, and mobile phone. And all of them are equally harmful for your child, not just for their eyes. I'm sure you know that it can harm their eyes, but not just for their eyes, for their overall neurological, for their overall mental well-being, for their overall health. Screen time has to be cut down, has to be restricted. And this is different for different age groups, actually. For those children who are under 2 years, like there is actually a set of guidelines given both by the IAP, that is the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, also given by the WHO. More or less, they agree on one thing, that children under 2 years should not have any screen time. For those aged 2 to 5 years, can get maximum 1 hour of screen time. And for those aged 6 to 10 years can get about 1 to 1.5 hours. Those above 10 years can get 2 hours of screen time if they have to. So this should be your cutoff. Try to maintain that cutoff as far as possible. And as a parent myself, I understand the problems of this. It will not happen overnight. Your child will not give up their screens overnight. You have to keep at it and gradually reduce it from time to time. So don't go cold turkey on them. Don't suddenly take away all of their devices. Then they will just end up rebelling against you, because some of their friends will continue to have all of these screen privileges. So try to restrict it slowly, step by step, but please try to come back to that where screen hours used to be limited, because there used to be nothing educational happening around them. And try to maintain the distance. Okay, so some children, they tend to like take their phones and go right into their phones. They shove their head into their phones and they are watching phone screens and tabs from a very close distance. Please ensure that that doesn't happen, because it was very harmful for their eyes. As a some of you parents must also know about this. Some of you may be techies, some of you may be medical professionals. You might know about something called blue light. So that affects your eyes, that affects your sleep, that affects your brain. So you have to maintain a distance, where children must maintain a distance when they are watching screens. So whatever it is, be it a cartoon, be it a video, be it a video game, maintain distance. And finally, monitor their online activities. This is not new to parents. I'm sure the schools are also vigilant about this, and I'm sure you're getting this education from schools as well and from other sources, that there is a lot of harmful content on the internet, harmful, unsuitable content, and there are a lot of cyber predators, a lot of cyber bullies, a lot of sexual predators on the internet, and children are particularly susceptible to them because they are, after all, young and innocent. So as parents, you need to monitor their online activity. Don't be a watchdog. Don't breathe down their necks all the time. Give them their fair share of independence, but make sure you monitor them remotely as to what they are doing and what they are not doing. Because the internet, while it can be a very useful place, it can also be a particularly harmful place, especially for younger children. Okay, so not just in terms of sexual predators, but also in terms of cyberbullying. A lot of cyberbullying, a lot of cyber shaming goes on in the internet, and that can have a detrimental effect on your child's mental health. So try to monitor whatever online activity they are doing. Coming back to mosquitoes and insects, this is a very relevant topic, because now that summer months are coming and then and followed by monsoon, we'll have an onslaught of mosquitoes, and along with mosquitoes will come dengue. And some of your children may already have suffered from dengue. Some of you may have also suffered from dengue. So you probably know that it is not something that you want to have. It is a very debilitating disease. People need to get hospitalized in most situations, especially for children. Sometimes it can turn very dangerous, especially for younger children. And those children who are obese are at an added risk. So we must try to fight this battle against dengue. And the only way of controlling that is by controlling mosquitoes. It is not possible to kill off all mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are ubiquitous. So the only thing that we can do is protect us and our children from them. Try to use a mosquito net. If your area has too many mosquitoes, try to sleep in a mosquito net. If your area doesn't have too many mosquitoes, then you can skip that, but make sure that you have a repellent around you, or you have some sort of a window screen for mosquitoes. You can use repellents. This is a question that I keep getting from a lot of patients, is whether it is okay to use liquidators, the liquid repellents from Goodnight, All Out, whatever brand. It is okay. You can use it. There's no harm in it. Just make sure that it's not directly in front of your or your child's face, because the fumes come out of it. I'm not saying the fumes are harmful if it is from a distance, but don't directly inhale it, because that can cause headache, that can cause some other problems as well. So you can use liquid repellents, but from a distance, from a slight distance. Don't put it directly in front of the face. Okay, but it is more important to take care of the mosquitoes. So repellents are important and useful. Post-bite care, of course, if your child has already been bitten, especially for younger children, mosquito bites sometimes can turn ugly. It can become red and swollen. You can rub a little bit of ice on them. You can put some aloe vera gel. I think many mummies will now have aloe vera gel in their houses. So mummies, you can put aloe vera gel on the mosquito bites. That will cool it down to some extent. Try to avoid scratching it. Children will end up scratching, and sometimes it can get quite ugly. It can get infected. So keep your child's nails cut down and short so they are not able to scratch it too much. And if they're having too much of itching, you can apply some household remedies for that. And of course, prevent the breeding of mosquitoes. So I think that's a general knowledge that most people have. Do not leave stagnant water, clean or dirty. Make sure that the area around your house is not dirty. Make sure there's no garbage lying around, because those are the breeding places of mosquitoes. The KMC must be spraying the area around your house. If they don't, then make sure that it gets sprayed at regular intervals. You call them and you get it sprayed at regular intervals. If there is any dengue patient around your house, make sure you inform the KMC or the municipality around you, and make sure that they come and they spray the area well to kill all the mosquito and the larvae. Okay, so that's important. Coming to indoor hobbies. So one way of staying well would be indoor hobbies. I think in the last 2 years, we have learned that indoor hobbies are very important. Those children who used to do only outdoor play faced a lot of psychological issue during the pandemic. I had quite a number of patients who used to come and say that my child is so depressed. There's, say, a young boy around 12, 13 years age, whose prime activity was outdoor play. He did not have much of indoor hobbies. And because of the pandemic, suddenly his going outside became restricted and he became depressed. And please don't think that children don't suffer from depression, because they do. They suffer from depression as much as adults, and they exhibit all the signs of clinical depression that adults exhibit. So this child, he was quite depressed, quite unhappy. And I told them, why don't you take up an indoor hobby? So he was like, I don't do any indoor hobbies. So far, I used to play cricket, I used to play football. I'm a very active guy. I'm the captain of my cricket team. But what do I do now? I have nothing to do now. I can't play cricket at home. I can't do football at home. So why don't you do yoga at home? Why don't you try learning some dance? Why don't you try some sort of indoor activity and hobby? So now we have understood the importance of having some sort of an indoor hobby, because who knows whether another wave will come again. We will get restricted at home. And for the mental well-being of children, you need to involve them in something. It could be music, it can be yoga, it can be dance, it can be a brain teaser game. But more importantly, try to keep them in organized games. I have seen a lot of younger children suffering from this problem because they did not go to school for too long before the pandemic started. Maybe 1 or 2 years, some of them didn't even start school. So one big problem that they faced was they don't know how to interact with other children. If you leave them in a group of children, they will all do individual play, but they will not play with each other because they just don't know what to do with each other. So organized games means games which involve a few children, and each of them has a role to play in that game. So try to get that done. Even though schools are starting, even though children are mixing, you need to organize some this kind of games and activities for children for their mental well-being, for their mental health. They need to learn how to interact, especially younger children. They need to learn how to make friends, how to even play with friends. Some very young children didn't even get to learn that before the pandemic started. Okay, so indoor hobbies would be a good way to keep them organized. Next thing, yes, of course, sickness, consult your doctor early, do not delay. Because of the pandemic, a lot of parents have delayed a lot of illnesses because there was a natural concern that if I go to the hospital, my child will get COVID, I will get COVID. And as a result of that, even simple illnesses, they ignored for so long that it turned ugly, and then the child had to be hospitalized. and the consequence wasn't very good in some of the cases. So don't delay, do not delay, put a mask on, come to the hospital, consult your doctor within safe. Go to a hospital where all the safety protocols are being followed. In our hospital, we are following all the safety protocols for COVID. We have followed that throughout the last couple of years. So do not fear going to a hospital like this because they are following the COVID protocols. So consult your doctor early. Don't leave it around. Don't delay it because the consequences can be bad. Goes without saying, isolate your child from sick people. If you know if anybody in your family is sick, please don't let your child go to that person. If you have two children and one of them is sick, as difficult as it may be, try to restrict the other child from going to the sick child. So I know that sounds a little difficult. That is easier said than done. But for the benefit of your child, you have to try that. You have to at least try to do that. Okay. So if there is a sick child, please don't send your child to school. Schools also need to understand this. In school, I think maybe schools also need to be a little lenient on this, because if schools have a good sick leave policy, then parents will not feel the need to send their child to school despite everything. So if your child is sick, please don't send that child to school, because he or she will end up infecting a huge number of children. So we don't need that, right? And then the whole class will fall sick. We don't need that. We are already going through a lot. We don't need that. Talk to your teacher. And for schools, and this, I would direct this to the school authorities, if there's anybody around, please have a lenient policy on sick leaves for children, because otherwise parents are forced to send their child despite being sick. Sometimes they don't want to, but they are forced to. Okay, so have a social responsibility. Try and have a good sense of social responsibility from both ends, parents and schools. Coming to physical safety, post-pandemic, now that children are going back to school, they need to be safe in school. Of course, they need to be safe at home again. Parents are going back to work. For some children, I think parents have already had to go back to work, but the child's school hasn't started. So this situation also, I think, probably many of you are facing, where initially the parents were also working from home. Now parents have gone back to work, but the child has to still be at home. So naturally, if a child is alone at home or with a caregiver who is not related, with a non-family member caregiver, then the safety at home naturally comes into question. Is your child safe at home? How to ensure that safety? First of all, very simple things, especially for children who are younger children. Older children will know how to take care of themselves, but for younger children, some very simple things. If you have an open balcony, keep the door locked. Don't let your child go out when you're not around them. Unsupervised, do not let them be in that open balcony. Keep your gas switched off properly. All fire equipment should be away from their reach. All sharps should be away from their reach, okay? Like knives and scissors should be away from their reach, except for craft scissors. Keep other knives and all away from their reach. So this is basic safety. Apart from that, you can install some CCTV cameras at home if your child is going to be home alone for prolonged durations, and which you can monitor remotely from your office. Teach them about strangers, teach them about whom to open the door to and whom not to open the door to. So those things are important, teach them that. And when they are going to school, they also need to be safe in school. I'm sure the schools are doing their best to keep children safe, but even despite the best efforts of the school, it is not always possible to monitor each child. You have to teach your child the importance of being safe in school. And by safe in school, we just don't mean physical safety in terms of not falling down and getting hurt, but we also mean sexual safety. We mean safety from being bullied. So those are things that you have to work out with the school. I'm sure the school will take the measures, but as parents, you also need to be vigilant. So what do? You have to talk to your child regularly. You have to counsel your child regularly. Talking to your child regularly is very, very important, because it is only then that your child will open up to you about their problems. If you feel that your child is becoming too quiet, not talking to you, something is happening. If as a parent you feel something is wrong, something is probably wrong. Trust your instincts as a parent. If you feel that your child is not interacting the way they were previously, please talk to them. If needed, take them to a counselor. Sexual safety is something that children need to be taught right down from the young age. Right now, children as young as 2 years need to understand about good touch, bad touch. You need to make sure that they are safe, because the society that we are living in right now is not very good for children either. Okay, so children who are going to school in school buses or in carpools, please teach them what is right and what is wrong, what is a good touch and what is a bad touch. I'm sure schools are doing that as well. But as parents, you need to take an active and integrated approach and interest in that, because after all, it is your child. And coming to our final topic, mental health. So mental health, how do we keep our children mentally healthy? This has been a huge problem in the pandemic, something that people have completely ignored. We keep talking about mental health of adults. No one stops to think about the mental health of children. We think the pandemic has been difficult on us as adults, as parents. We think it has been difficult on us. Try and think from your child's perspective. Think how difficult this time has been for your child. In a lot of families, there have been loss of lives. Some children have lost parents. Some children have lost grandparents. But nobody has stopped to counsel the child. We have too busy counseling ourselves. We have been too busy thinking of our mental health. I don't think many people have stopped to think about the mental health of their child. A lot of families have faced loss of incomes. Many parents have lost their jobs. I hope that none of you have been unfortunate that way. But this has happened in a lot of families. Parents have lost their jobs. Suddenly, incomes have been lost. Some of them have lost their homes. Some of them have lost their cars. Some of them have lost a part of their lives. So although children are quiet, they don't express it the way we do. They may not sit and cry. They may not sit and scream, but it is affecting their mental health. They are as depressed as you are. Children understand everything. Do not underestimate the understanding, the depth of perception of children. Children can understand when their parents are unhappy, and they reflect their parents' unhappiness, their parents' mood. They reflect that. If you are agitated, your child, at least mentally, is agitated. So stop and talk to your child. Tell them that this too shall pass, that's okay. This is a difficult time, but it will get over. It's just a matter of 2 years, 3 years, whatever. The pandemic will get over. This will get over. Things will get back to normal. Regular counseling by parents is important, that it is okay that the schools have stopped. It is okay that maybe the income has got down a bit. It is okay if they have lost their home and are living in a smaller home right now. If they have lost a family member, you have to make them understand that it is not their fault, things were beyond anybody's control, and that this bad time will also pass and good times are bound to come. So please do not ignore the mental health of children. The pandemic has affected the mental health of children severely, something that most people do not understand, because we are so busy in our lives, we fail to sit and consider that. So I'm requesting all parents to please look after the mental health of your child. So I think that concludes my whatever I had to say for today. This is very short. This is in a gist. I'm sure it doesn't cover even 90% of all of your queries, but this was just a skeleton. Hopefully it will help you to some extent. So stay healthy and happy, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Antara, for your time. And before you sign off, I just would quickly, some of the parents have put up some questions. So I would just take some of the questions, because they won't be getting in touch with you after this for maybe some time. They have to visit your place to get in touch with you. So just quickly taking some of the questions. So one of the parent has asked that what kind of mask is appropriate for younger children. So should they go on with the surgical mask that the adults are using around?
See, like I said, children, their facial size varies according to their age and their weight, but the surgical masks are of a fixed size. Surgical masks are adequate for protection against COVID for adults, but only if it fits them well. So for older children, it's okay to wear a surgical mask, but younger children, I feel that it usually doesn't fit very well on their faces. It is loose. The sides are mostly open. The top and the bottom might be open. So it is better to go for a simple, a 3-layer or a 5-layer cloth mask, which is adjustable and which fits well on their faces. That is more important. The mask definitely would provide a superior advantage, but if it doesn't fit fit well, then it really doesn't make a point.
Exactly. So another parent has just asked that one of a child has had some personal experience, and due to that, she's on a depression. She has gone to a depression right now. So, like as a parent, that parent should take, as you have said, that mental health on a prior ground. So, like visiting a psychiatrist or a child specialist should be a must for a parent in this kind of situation.
Yes, definitely. If as a parent you have identified that your child is going into depression, like I just spoke about, children are completely susceptible to depression and they signs of clinical depression. And there have even been cases of some older children attempting to take their own life. Some of them have even successfully done that. So although I'm not scaring anybody, I'm not thinking in such drastic ways. If as a parent you have identified that your child has depression, then ahead of the curve. You have done a very good job. So the next step would be to take your child to a counselor. There are a lot of counselors. You can look up the internet. You can hospital, we have some very good child counselors in our hospital as well. There are 2 or 3 very good child counselors. You can look up the website of our school, or you can contact coordinator here and they will fix you up with an appointment if needed. But yes, do not delay. Definitely come to a child counselor. It can make a lot of difference.
Exactly. And one final question that we would take, that during this pandemic, the screen time for children had gone up. Like it has, the graph has been really high for children. So, what kind of precautions parents can take so that the eyes of the children are taken care of? So, what kind of what then, like the normal
Right. I think I
practices
already
that
spoke to some extent about this, but let's go back to that again. First of all, try to restrict the screen hours. Now that schools are starting, there's no need to sit in front of the screen anymore. There's no excuse that it is education, that this is schoolwork. No, they will need some screen time for schoolwork, etc. But that has to be restricted. Like I said, children under 2 years, no screen time. 2 to 5 years, 1 hour. 6 to 10 years, 1 to 1.5 hours, and above 10 years, 2 hours max. Try to keep a distance, maintain a minimum distance from the screen, be it a laptop, be it a tab, be it your mobile phone. Try to maintain a distance because it can affect your eyes, and restrict the time. Also, if at all some of them are still having to do these online classes, you should follow the rule of what we say is a 20-20-20 rule. That is, every 20 minutes, you walk away, you stand away 20 feet away from the screen, and you stare at a distance of more than 20 feet. That is, every 20 minutes, you take a break from the screen and stare at any distant object that is more or at least 20 feet or away. That will keep your eye.
So I think that's most of the questions that parents had asked us, and we would like to thank everyone who had joined in today's webinar, and particularly Dr. Antara Biswas from Manipal Hospitals, because she had pointed out some of the very important aspects that we need to take care for our children. And so I would like to thank everyone and put an end to our today's discussion over here. So thank you, Dr. Antara. Thank you, every parent, and thank you to everyone who had attended this webinar. So on behalf of Adamus Schools, I would like to sign off for today. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.